All right, I'm Michael. He's Abdul here. We're back again talking about Bionic WP. Today we're going to talk about why support should be the top priority for a hosting provider to retain customers. This is a sensitive topic for me. Because this is all I believe. I truly believe there's not a lot difference between hosting providers, especially no offense to other hosting providers. One's not providing the level of speed and things that we're doing, right? But there's just not a lot. So service is one of those things. Not a lot of between agencies. Service, if people are doing work, right? The results that they get are all pretty similar, right? 51 blocks gets between 20 and 40% growth year over year. Or when you're actually doing SEO work, that's what you get, right? That's the type of results you get. So what on top of that can you do to separate yourself? And I'm a huge believer in service. And trust me, when I go to some restaurants and I don't get the best of service, I'm not the nicest person. But on the flip side, like if I go to the hardware store and I have amazing service, I ask to talk to the manager and say, hey, this person did an amazing job, right? Because I think as business owners, we need to know those things. We need to know when we have great service. We need to know when we have bad service, both ways, right? And that's why getting video testimonials and those types of things are important for service. You can tell that I'm passionate about it because I've yet to even ask Abdul what he thinks about this. But so why don't you go ahead and talk us why should that be the top priority for hosting providers, and why isn't it for hosting providers?
Yep, I think like you mentioned, like it is a sensitive topic, and I think all of us, if you have a website, if you have a professional line of an agency, you develop websites, or even if you have your own blog, have your own website, e-commerce, something, and you've been doing it for a few years, you would have some horror stories with hosting companies. Like I'm yet to find a person who has been doing or hosting a site for a few years and he doesn't have horror stories, especially from the the big hosting companies, right? That's where kind of EIG Group and like all those hosting companies that are there, not everyone has some horror stories with them. So I think for hosting, support is important, because when hosting works, you don't need support. It's working, your website is fine, you don't need support. You actually only need support when something goes wrong, right? So your emotions are already high, you're already frustrated, you already maybe you're losing business, maybe you're an e-commerce store. Like if you have an e-commerce store, every hour that your site is down, if you get good traffic, you're losing money. Or if you're an agency and your client's websites are down, you are at the risk of losing the client's business. So you're already when something has gone wrong, you're already frustrated, right? You're already not in a very good mood. You want your problem fixed, and then if you hit a kind of a support wall, which you hit a wall, you're not listening, the person is not understanding, or you cannot get in touch with support. That's when things that's where even if it's a small problem, if it's a small mistake by the support people, it just gets expanded because of the environment that you need support in for hosting, right? You only need it once when it's not working. So at that time, I think it's very important for hosting companies, and there are some very good hosting companies that do take their support seriously, but most of them, if you look at most of them, support is an afterthought. That's what I've always felt as a customer to them, that support is an afterthought.
And why do you think that is?
I think once you, and not just with hosting, I've seen this because I do, if you listen to Michael joking about me, I do use a lot of software, right? So I think I've seen this with almost every company that I use, that if support wasn't their priority from day one, it never becomes a priority, right? But because what happens is when you have a very few number of customers, even if support is not your priority, you don't have a lot of customers, so you can easily support them. But because it was not in top of your mind or not your top priority, when the number of customers start growing, you don't have the systems, or you don't even have the kind of the will to kind of make sure that your support metrics are you're tracking them, you're making sure your customers are happy, things like that, right? So, and then with support, the problem is that once you lose it, once you get to a certain point, let's say you reach a hosting company reaches 10, 20,000 customers, and you've already lost it on support, it's very, very, very difficult because it's very hard to scale support. Scaling support is one of the biggest challenges that many support-oriented companies will face, especially if they are technical support. Because getting technical,
especially the level of support we're trying to provide, right, which is more than the support that most hosting providers provide, right?
Yes. So it's very hard to scale that, and if you are in a battle of time where you're getting hammered every day and your support is not good, it's not, then what will happen? You'll start getting anyone you can to fill in the gaps. Then people will get frustrated even more, because then the person that they get into doesn't understand what they're doing. So like it's like that kind of just creates a problem, because I don't know about you, but like when I look at support of hosting companies, like you also have your very big share of experience, so I think you can let me know if I'm right. But the thing is that there are two types of problems that come into support, right? Especially with hosting companies. Either you get support and you don't have, like, you're not able to reach support. You want to get some help. Either there's no live chat or there's tickets, so then the tickets take hours and hours to get responded to. Either you have that problem, or you have a problem when you get in touch with someone on support and they don't understand what you want. Like they are like, their skill level is so down that they're not, or their language skills, technical skills are so down that they're not understanding what you're trying to tell them. So I think that these are two types of problems that you face when you reach out to hosting companies. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest problems, I feel like, with small, like, you find a hosting provider that's good, they're usually pretty small. That's what I've noticed. And then you identify with somebody, right? Or any product, for the people we've used, even Bobby, right? Then all of a sudden, that person's not reachable anymore, and that's who you only want to talk to, and that's what we're going to run into, right? I'm already having issue or anxiety in my mind around, well, I used to talk to Michael and Abdul, right? Like, that's what's going to happen.
Yeah. It is happening, because I have started noticing that in support emails that come in, people are directly writing, "Hi Abdul," right? So I am already noticing that, and this is something that we will have to kind of tackle into. But definitely, like, this is a problem. You're right that this happens, and we are also having this problem with some of our providers.
Yeah, and that's what, and I think, like, I remember when I was with Liquid Web, which I think at that time was a big company, but they did a great job. Remember the heroic support that they have, which was a great term, because it was. You would write in and you would get answers within 15 minutes, and they were right? Like, that's why I was with them for so long. And then I don't know if they got purchased by GoDaddy or something different's happened there, where now support is not the same anymore, right? And there was only one person I would talk to over there, and I'd wait till he came in, right? Like Joseph was his name. Waiting for Joe. Is Joseph? Nope. Okay, I'll call back. When's his next shift? Oh, okay, I'll call back, right? And I'd just wait to deal with those issues with him, because you don't trust anybody else, because the level of support and knowledge just isn't there, right? So I think it's interesting to me that, like, another place I went was Cloudways, right? I went to Cloudways, and at first the support was really good, and then I don't know if they got too big or whatever, and obviously I don't need you to talk about it because you had some inside knowledge on that, but that was my experience from the outside, right? At first I was like, oh, this is pretty good. I mean, they're not US based, right? Support, which, okay, people in the US have issues with that at some levels, right? But then, hey, they're answering my questions. I'm fine with that. Okay, so cool. And then that changed, where they weren't answering my questions, and queue times were very long, right? I couldn't talk to somebody for 20 minutes on chat. And then I think there was a time there wasn't even chat. You had to, like, wait in a different queue unless you were at a certain level or something like that. I don't even know. But then I was like, okay, I'm done. Then we moved to a company called IO Zoom that had one guy that I found knew what he was talking about. His name was Prince, right? And I needed to talk to him every time to get things done. And that was tough, because it's not, you got to have a scalable system. Even if the people don't understand it, they have to be able to know how to use the tools to get things done. And that's the problem.
Yep.
I think we see. And it's surprising to me that, and maybe it's just because it's an impossible thing to scale. And I think we'll run into it, and you've had experience with it before, so you'll see it better before I do. So
yep, and
I don't know. What do you think about that?
And I think that is one reason that we have started talking about support right now, even when we are, like, on a very early stage of developing the product. I'm, like, kind of having this discussion with you on support, because support is a problem that we always have to get ahead of. Like, if you have to spend some, like, extra money on benching people, bench them, because if you know the demand is coming, if you know that, okay, if right now we have, let's say, 5 support people, and we are adding 200 sites a month or 100 sites a month, we're adding 100 sites a month, we have 5 people there, we know they will be out of capacity in 2 months, so we need to make sure that we hire the person that we need in 2 months now. Because with support, the problem is that there is a big learning curve, because support, you don't find, like, normally you don't find good developers who are willing to do customer support. You find people who are very fresh, who don't have a lot of experience, so you have to train them. You have to train them in customer service, and you have to train them in the technical skills that they need. And then another focus that I think a lot of companies don't do on is tools. Like that is one thing that we are focusing on in our platform from the start. Like, I'm talking to the platform guys, I'm talking to the DevOps guys, that I would need tools which help our support agents kind of get into problems faster. Like, so they can get into problem. If someone comes on chat and he needs help, there, number one, we will be investing a lot in the knowledge base. We'll be working with the technical team, making sure that our knowledge base is really good. And most of the products, as the features get developed, knowledge base articles get developed for that, so people can know how they can actually use that feature. And then after that, when it comes to chat, there are tools that we can build that can, like, kind of give people quick tech support, quick access to their server, to the configuration. Because normally what I've seen happens is people come to you when they have SSL issues, they come to you when their website is slow, they come to you when their website is not loading, stuff like that. So kind of thinking, how can we develop tools that can be used quickly by the support agents or the support people to kind of pinpoint the issue, right? That they can get the issue pinpointed so that it can get fixed quickly. So kind of that's where a term bionic comes from. So bionic WP, like, I think we've discussed that. The idea is to augmenting a normal human capabilities, right? Like enhancing a normal human capabilities. So we are trying to do that for our clients with performance-based hosting. And we are also trying to do that internally for our support people, our team as well, giving them the tools, the things that they need to kind of give good service. So I think for hosting companies, it's a matter of both. Like, they don't keep scaling the support team as the client, because if you are growing, if your clients are coming, you have to kind of preempt where you will be 6 months down the line, and you have to plan support from now for 6 months down the line, right? You're not like, oh, once we reach that customers, then we'll hire more support people. That's like a strategy that will fail, because you won't have enough support people. You'll have a lot of load. So that's what will happen, that your customers will wait in chat for 20 minutes because already your customer support is overloaded with the numbers that they have. And then the problem will come, because when you try to shrink that down, our chat time is 20 minutes, let's get 5 more people. The 5 more people that you come up with, they're not trained, they haven't gone through the process, they don't understand your platform. So now the even more frustrating thing will happen, that a person will wait for 10 minutes instead of 20, they'll wait for 10 minutes to get in touch with someone who doesn't know what they're talking about. So then that kind of just aggravates the problem further, right? So I think support is a very difficult thing to scale into. And so it's something that you have to start thinking of now rather than when you hit that problem.
Yeah. And you mentioned knowledge base, and you and I have had conversations around this, right? How I'm not a huge fan of knowledge bases because I don't use them, right? I want to talk to somebody and I want to answer. And that's I think what we got to figure out how to balance, right? Is I think our knowledge base is going to end up being used by our internal team more than it will be by external people, but we'll see the type of usability. And like you said, Intercom puts it right in there, so that it's right in your face. So maybe they have to use it. But I want my issue solved, not go read about something. But sometimes you have to do that, right? And I think that's to your point. I think it'll be interesting to see how we try to solve this problem once it starts happening. We're trying to prepare for it, but kind of like this whole thing, we don't know until you're in the moment of what you need to do. And we're trying to already hire people for support, additional support people, because we don't need them yet necessarily, but we will need them based on where we're going. So,
and I think when you talk about knowledge bases, the thing is that when it's a problem, when you have a problem and you want that problem fixed, definitely you need support and you need the chat people or the ticket, whatever method you're using to contact support to get that problem solved. But then there are so many features that a platform has. For that, the idea is to have knowledge bases. Okay, how can I set up caching? How can I set up special rules on caching? So now for that, you can come to support, but as you want to set up the rules, support can't do that for you. So that's where the knowledge base comes in. Okay, this is how you set up new rules. Okay, you want to do this, this is how you do this. If it's a critical problem, it's a problem with the site. If there's a problem that needs to be solved, that's where the support comes in. But if it's a feature that you want to use, right? If it's a feature of the platform that you want to kind of use, how to set up a staging site, right? Now, okay, that's a feature that is in itself. How to push staging site live. Like if you have made changes on a staging site,
Yeah.
how can you push that live? Now this is not a problem, right? It's not a problem that you can come into chat and ask them to do it. That's where you need to understand how the feature works. So that's where we will push knowledge bases. But definitely, like for us, support is something that would be like we want to try to say no as minimum as possible in the company. Like if it's really something that really is really out of the scope, that's when we'll say, okay, this is something your developer needs to look at or something. But then even in that, we'll say, okay, this is what you need to look at. This is not just that, oh, we don't know this problem, if we go figure it out. We have to tell them that this is the problem. This is where things are getting stuck. This particular customized plugin, this line of code, this piece of code, this function file, this theme file, this is where things are getting stuck, things are getting slow. Please ask your developer to look at that, because it's not that we don't want to solve those issues. The problem is that when you have customized code, we don't know the code. Our team doesn't know the code, how it's coded, how things are there. So even if we want to help you, we can't help you in that, because that's where your developer has to come in. But instead of just saying, not a problem, go figure it out, we'll try to say, okay, that's where the tools come in. That's where we want to develop tools where they can even, like eventually, the idea is that you don't even need to come to support to identify those issues. AI bot, which we will call the bionic bot or whatever we want to call it, that would be the one that would be giving you all that information, that you have this WordPress site, e-commerce site, these 5 queries are getting slow, please look at them. So giving you that information before they become a problem, so you can get them fixed. That's the idea, right? That's where we want to involve some AI, some machine learning, where it's constantly monitoring your website. Every visitor that's coming in is being your system is being monitored. Any choke points that are coming in, you're being told beforehand that this is something, if you get more traffic, this will become a choke point for you. Please get this fixed.
Yeah, and I think I think the cool thing out of doing this video today is it helped clarify for me, hey, if you need a feature, use the support, use the knowledge base, because that is already laid out perfectly instead of asking us how to do it. But if you actually have a problem, that's what you need to talk to somebody for. And I think that will help reduce our load of chat requests, and I will feel comfortable. I think that's fair, because what I'm thinking is, if I came to somebody and said, hey, I want to launch a new site, cool, go here, here's a step-by-step. Boom, now they're off going to do it. Instead of being like, hey, okay, now click on this. Did you click on it? Yep. Okay, now do the right. Where, hey, SSL is not issuing for this site. Why? That's
a problem. Like
so
staging,
now
right?
Go and address that.
Like staging, like, okay, if you are how to create a staging website, you have a knowledge base, you can follow the knowledge step-by-step instructions. Let's say you did some changes in the staging site, and now you go to the knowledge base. It says, okay, to push them live, click here. You push it, it doesn't work. Right? It's not pushing things live. That's where support has to come in, and that's where support has to come in and fix the problem. So I think that's the kind of distinction that is there.
Exactly, I agree. Cool. Well, I think we talked. We could probably talk about this at length for both of us, because it is something we're both very passionate about, and what we're kind of basing this on. Obviously, we want to have a great product, but if you actually look at any of our testimonials, I'd say 90% of them talk very little about the site speed and talk mostly about the customer support that they get from a hosting platform.
That's why I kind of named this topic retention of customers, because that's how I look at it. Like a speed, a performance. If you're a hosting provider, if you're any provider, any SaaS, anything, the features that you provide are how you get the foot in the door, how you get the customer. For us, that features are performance, a focus on performance. Like we are much more focused on performance than other hosting companies. So that's what gets us into the door. That's what gets the customer in, and that's for every SaaS business, that you get in because of the features, but you stay because of the service, right? That if we were giving really good performance scores, but we were giving really bad support, right? I doubt that everyone
get frustrated for sure.
Yeah, they'll say, okay, you guys are good, you do what you do good, but you guys don't support it. So I doubt that we'll have the retention rate that we have right now, even with the same number of performance optimizations scores that we get, if we weren't giving good support. So customers, I think, come for your service, come for your kind of features, but they stay for your service. And it's true a lot for hosting companies as well, because like many things, right? Like anything kind of that you use, you need to get into touch with hosting support when things go wrong, right? So that's where customers, like I said at the start, already frustrated, and if they don't get the right level of support, it's and with like you said at the start, like there's not much of a difference when you compare the hosting companies. So if there's another competitor of yours giving better service, better customer service at a very similar, or even if at a slightly higher price point, people do leave for service because if they get frustrated.
Yep, I think that's true. And I've talked to people that love their hosting provider and don't want to leave. Well, okay. Like, so there are some people that feel like they found a good solution that need to stay there and do that. I would challenge them to say, hey, try us out and see if they think they have better support than what we're providing. But to each their own, right? So that's why we think support should be the top priority. Why we're planning for it or trying to, right? We're trying to hire some additional people so that we're prepared for the growth that we're currently seeing or what we think we could see. So I think that wraps it up on the customer support. He's Abdul. I'm Michael. Bionic WP. Have a great day.